Hello, YouTube. This is Uncle Bear tuning in with you today, just doing a little bit more brain dumping. I just wanted to kind of talk about a dream that I had recently. It was on February the 7th, 2025, so it's more recent. It was a kind of interesting dream. I just wanted to kind of talk about it. I want a couple of days to kind of take some time off to kind of think about it and ask God about it. And so I wanted to post about it today just to kind of give you my thoughts on it, whatnot. This dream is about Beyonce. Let me just be clear that I don't know Beyonce and I don't know anything about her personal life. This is just a dream that I had about her. But I'm gonna go ahead and kind of talk about it a little bit. Um, I basically went over to a house occupied by three ladies. One of the ladies was a co-worker. I won't say her name, but I recently got into an argument with her because she is of a different religion than mine and kept trying to pray over me. I rejected her prayers, concerned that she was attracting demons into my life. There was a small church with a pastor at the house. It seemed like the ladies and pastor were preparing for a guest to show up for the service. I decided to help clean up other rooms. When I returned to the service room, I saw Beyonce Carter sitting down talking to the pastor. I was surprised to see her at this church because it was small and nobody else showed up. After the service, Beyonce began to leave. I approached her as she was about to exit the door. I introduced myself and extended my hand for a handshake. She didn't shake my hand and looked confused to why I was speaking to her. I continued to follow her out the door and determined to ask her a question. I followed her explaining that I understood that we did not know each other, but wanted to know why she decided to attend such a small church and not a large one. She looked at me with a small smile and replied that she had been rejected. I smiled at her and I said, I can relate to that. I extended my hand again and said it was nice to meet you. This time she gave me a warm smile and said it was nice to meet me too. I went out, we went our separate ways, and I felt I had done something special. From my perspective, I thought Beyonce was seeking salvation. Me relating to her rejection was true and was my way of saying that we all get lost and need a savior. Shortly after we departed, I noticed my car was missing. It would not start, and someone came to move it. In real life, my car won't start. So I had a lot of different thoughts about this dream. One, that was the second dream that I had about Beyonce. I may have to make another video on that one later on, but in this particular video, I just wanted to take some time to really kind of think about it and to get clarification on it because it was just a lot going on in there for me. Like, why Beyonce? Why was she at church? Why was I there? Why was I trying to speak to her? Like, I was just, because me personally, again, I don't know Beyonce personally, but I've heard a lot of different stories about her and Jay-Z and just that whole world in general. And it doesn't sound like it's really anything that I want to be a part of personally in terms of just the wickedness that goes on behind closed doors. But, in the dream, that's why I was confused about why am I trying to speak to her to begin with? Was I excited because she was a celebrity trying to get saved? Was I excited because I don't listen to her music like that, so it's not like I wouldn't say that I'm a fan of hers. So I was just really confused at the time. But I began to ask God about it, and um, some thoughts came up that you know me me and Beyonce have a couple of things in common. One, we're both Southern. I'm from Tennessee and she's from Texas, and obviously she's gained a lot of fame and and just being a musician and an artist and her connections in the world and whatnot. Me, I don't consider myself to be famous at all. I'm just a regular guy that just works and tries to help people when I can. But um, in the dream, when I thought about us having that common ground of rejection, again, I don't know her personal life, but What I do know is that, to my understanding, she used to grow up in the church, in Texas or wherever she was from as a child. And so she has some roots there. And I grew up in the church as well. And, for a little bit, I got lost and didn't want anything to do with God for a while. But um, I started thinking about what she said in the dream, which was that, that she was rejected. And that was the reason why she didn't go to church. And I can relate to that a lot. There's been a couple of churches I've been to several churches, but there's only been two that I've been like members of, and both of them had their ways of rejecting me in different ways, and to the point where I was just didn't know if church was for me or not. But you know, again, besides the rejection, me and Beyonce are from the South, and Beyonce recently during her campaign with Kamala Harris, I don't know if she was being genuine or not, but she kind of said that made claim to her being a Southern girl. And, for me, I was thinking, maybe she, even though she's had all this worldly success, maybe a part of her still misses just that down South vibe, easygoing, I mean, sure, every city has its problems or whatever, but I would say that from the South compared to like New York or LA, way much more chiller if I had to guess. And so, and then on top of that, she recently won Grammys in the Country Music Association, which, I don't listen to any of her music like that. So I'm not here to say if it was good or a bad album or whatnot, but I do feel like, I guess it raised the question, why, she's had so much success in other genres. Why country? Like, is she trying to, get her foot into the country music world for validation that she's like the greatest of all time or something like on some Ray Charles type stuff? But I mean, I don't know. But again, besides all that, the only thing that we got in common is that we're both from the South, and apparently there was some type of rejection that we had, something in common with. And so, with that being said, I'm gonna say what I believe God was saying to me personally after I thought about it for a few days. Um, so a lot of my rejection came from, I believe God's been talking to me for a long time. I may not have known if that was Him or not, or for sure, but there were certain areas in my life where I'm just like, man, that's you, God. Like, that has to be you. And I would try to go share my testimonies with people, and people would, either ignore or laugh or whatever. So it was kind of hard to share my testimonies for a while. But there's a couple of people who prophesied into my life a few years back. I want to say like around 2017. It was like 2016 or 2017, somewhere around that time. But there was one lady that I was going to church with. It was at this church called The Belonging in Nashville. Um, Basically, the pastor told us to hold our neighbors' hands, and we started praying for one another. And I remember holding hands with this lady. She was standing off to my left, and we were praying. And I didn't know if anything was going to happen. But this one lady beside me, after we got done praying, she said, "I got to tell you something." She said, and she seemed like she wasn't really used to talking to God, or at least getting like a direct answer that quick from her perspective. But I let her speak, and she basically said that God told her that He was gonna make me famous. And at first, when I heard that, you know, I didn't know if that was from God or not, because one, I never had a desire to be famous. I'm more of a shy person. I don't really like a lot of attention on me like that, because people are just mean, and you know, me just not wanting that much exposure was just something I never really wanted. I didn't want that much exposure. But when she basically said that God was gonna make me famous, and she kind of pointed out some insecurities that I had. She said that that God knows that I get frustrated when people call me handsome or smart, or that'll make a good husband, or all these different positive traits that I had, but I still couldn't find a wife. And when she said that, that's what caught my attention, because I was frustrated. I mean, I can go on and on about the stories about the women that I either tried to get or whatever. And I understand that we all face rejection, but for me, it was just like, man, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm getting tired of people telling me that I'm handsome or I would make a good dad, but nobody really wants to go the distance with me like that. And so, or at least nobody that I wanted, So, but that was one prophecy as far as her saying that was gonna make me famous. And I thought about, well, let me say this other prophecy. So this other prophet at my other church that I used to go to that I grew up in was at Born Again Church. Again, I won't say his name just for his privacy, but he once told me that um, he basically told me to like ignore the crowd and don't take people like seriously, as far as like just trusting them so much and think that they're going to be like for you, because when the time comes, they'll smile on your face one day and then mock you the next. So he said basically just don't be attached to the crowd. And ever since he told me that, it kind of reminded me of what that first lady said in terms of God's gonna make me famous. And so when I thought about those two prophecies that those two people spoke over my life, I thought about just scripture and the Bible. Like all the stories that we hear in the Bible, I don't believe Moses ever sought after to be famous, but because God did such a great work in his life, I mean, it's the work of God that makes you famous, because his works are marvelous. And so when I thought about my personal life, there's just been so many things that's happened to me that, I mean, to be honest, that's the reason why I was making all these videos, just to kind of start telling these stories in hopes that maybe somebody might relate to it or going through their own problems with similar problems, and maybe these stories can help encourage them along the way. But regardless, when I thought about my current season in my life, you know I'm a server. I love what I do. I just love talking to people and meeting different people from all over the world. But someone people will tell me all the time when I'm at work. They say, I love your voice, or you should like get into podcasting or radio or something, or they ask me a question like, do you sing? And those things feel good, but I feel like for a long time, God's been kind of leading me to start making these videos, and I wasn't sure if they were going to blow up or how to handle that. But obviously, um, people can get paid on YouTube now these days, and I wasn't sure if it was going to really take off like that or not. But I think a part of me got discouraged because I realized that when I think about YouTube or this overnight sensations, I think about the girl that was the Hawk Tuah girl. It was like, man, she literally just blew up for saying Hawk Tuah, spit on that thing, referring to sucking somebody's dick or whatever. And I'm like, that's all the world cares about. It's just if you're not talking about money or sex, you're probably not going to blow up in this world. But my Bible says that if the world loves you, that the love of the Father's not in you anyway. So I told that lady that prophesied over me about being famous. I said, I don't want to be famous. I don't, I just don't have a desire to be famous like that. Like, I don't want no scrutiny. I don't want people knowing my name like that. Too shy. Like, I just didn't want it. But if I get online and I tell the truth about my personal life and it helps people because God led me to, then it just is what it is. but in my heart, I just never wanted the fame like that. Um, but yeah, I just been thinking about those two things recently, and let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, share, and comment on this content if you like it. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I mean, are you guys dreaming a lot these days, or do you have dreams that are significant? Um, what do you guys think it means when a celebrity is in your dreams? Let's talk about it, because in the scriptures it says that in the last day that God's going to pour out His Spirit over the people, and that there's going to be dreams and visions being given out to them. And the more I keep looking around, it's like, man, I have a lot of dreams, and you know, some are good and some are bad. But this Beyonce one is interesting to me because, one, my car in real life is not working for real, and so when I woke up from the dream, I thought someone may have stolen my car at first, but my car was still there. Still needs to be worked on or whatever. But um, like I said, Beyonce's, with the allegations towards Puff Daddy and just a lot of celebrities right now. Beyonce's kind of in that conversation just by association. Again, I don't know her personally. I only hear the stories that I've been hearing. But what I do know is, anybody can have salvation if they choose to. It doesn't matter how rich or powerful you are. If you make up in your mind that, I want to know this Christ. I want to know who he is and why he died for me and who I am to him. And so if Beyonce is lost and she's trying to be found and be saved, and I'm all for that. But I don't know her personally, so I'm not gonna try to assume all that. But what I will say is that rejection is real, and if you're not careful, it can just have you going after things that you shouldn't be going after just to validate yourself. I'm in the process of writing these little short story books about my personal life, and you know when I'm writing these books, or as I'm writing these books, I can literally kind of go back into my life and be like, man, like that's where that started, or that's where that pride entered into my heart, or that's where all the confusion started. You start backtracking and realize like, oh, that's how Satan really got you. But besides all that, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments about just dreams in general. Do they mean anything? Have you been having crazy dreams? Just let me know what you guys think. In the meantime, stay blessed and keep your eyes on y'all.